Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, the show for women who are seeking more fulfillment in life and simply not getting it from their current situation. We focus specifically on careers, but hey, we spend a lot of time in our careers, so making changes here will definitely create an impact in your overall happiness. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and my mission is to empower women to succeed. I believe that in order to powerfully own your career, you must decide and claim that you want to sit in the driver's seat. You must know that you deserve better and be willing to not only do the requisite work, but be willing to go out on a limb to ensure your success. Each episode focuses on profiling a leader who is clearly demonstrating ownership of their career. Join me and my guests as we explore career journeys and bring you actionable strategies to use to get into the driver's seat for your career. Because ultimately, your career is your responsibility. Let's get into the show. Hi there, it's Simone Morris. It's so hard for me to believe we're up to episode 14 in season 1. So exciting. We've had some phenomenal guests join the podcast, and I am excited for the guests that are in the queue that will be coming to you shortly. Before I jump into today's guest, I want to just talk about this weekend. This past weekend was amazing. We had the Power of Owning Your Career experience in Stamford, Connecticut, and we had panelists Dorinda Walker, Ellen Keithline-Byrne, Joe Santana, and they did an amazing job. Owen Company, they did the professional headshots for the event. It was just an amazing time. If you missed out on the event, know that it's coming again July 27th. I'm thinking that's going to be the day for the next Power of Owning Your Career experience, but stay tuned. I have to finalize the details for that event, but it was off the charts. Just really good information sharing, networking, bonding, opportunities being shared, knowledge, and just getting folks into the driver's seat for their careers. And I'm really pleased with the event and looking forward to what else is coming in 2019. So that was the Power of Owning Your Career experience. Now back to the podcast. Today's guest is Cheryl Wood, and I love her tagline. It says, "Playtime is over." And don't you just feel like when you hear playtime is over, it means stop the nonsense, get into the driver's seat? I know that's what I feel. So I know that you will get a lot of value from this guest. And without further ado, let's get into the actual interview with Cheryl Wood. Welcome to the podcast, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
All right. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
All right. So I always like to give kind of the personal side and the professional side. And the personal side is I am a wife. My husband and I will be celebrating 12 years of marriage very soon in about another month. And So that's a beautiful thing, very much into family. And we have 3 beautiful children together, ages 11, 12, and 15. So right now we have 1 kid in elementary, 1 in middle school, and 1 in high school. So as you can imagine, very, very busy life. Outside of that, on the professional side, I like to call myself a cultivator of women, really helping them to own their power and to walk in their unique lane of brilliance and to make the decision that this is the life that I want to create and nothing's going to get in my way. So helping women to press through their fears, helping them to press through their own self-limiting beliefs, to get out of their comfort zone, to take big risks. Like that's what I'm all about. And helping them to build the confidence and the commitment to stick with what they say they're going to accomplish.
I love that. And I think that's why I was drawn to you, because I call myself an empowerment coach and I'm about getting women into the driver's seat as well. So yes. I'm a fan and I have been following you on the different social media platforms and very impressed with your work.
Thank you.
And even more impressed that you were able to balance where you incorporate your husband and your children as you're an international speaker. And I think I saw, I don't know if it was Africa or somewhere that you went with your family. And I was just like, wow, okay, that is inspiring. I need to figure out how to incorporate family more into what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so important for me because when I got married, I wasn't an entrepreneur. My husband married me. I had a full-time job and benefits. And so I kind of changed the complete game on him, stepping into entrepreneurship. And so I try to make sure that I really keep my family very heavily engaged in the things that I'm doing on this new journey.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. So tell us about some of the highlights from your career journey.
Oh my God. So I have to go back to what you were just talking about. Last year, I had the amazing opportunity to travel to South Africa for the first time. I got to speak to some amazing young college girls at a university there. And that was, I mean, you can imagine, that was priceless. That was unforgettable. And it's so funny because for years I had been talking about wanting to go and serve in parts of, I used to say, I want to go and I want to speak in parts of Africa that I can't even pronounce. So it was like a big dream. And for that big dream to manifest, that was huge. The year before that, I got to go and travel to India. I was in New Delhi, India, and I got to speak at a big conference there to pour into the lives of women there who are oftentimes taught to press mute on their own voices and not to share their stories and to keep, as we oftentimes hear in certain cultures, to keep our business to ourselves. And I find that that's very much the culture oftentimes of people over there in India. And to go over and be able to have the opportunity to serve women and to remind them that your story matters, your voice matters, and that that's a big part of your legacy and your fingerprint was absolutely phenomenal. And then in a couple months, I'll actually be traveling to Paris, France for the first time. And I am going to be hosting my own international conference, my very first international conference. I have about 22 or 23 women traveling with me from the US. We've connected with some amazing women's groups and entrepreneur groups in Paris who will be coming to the conference. And we even have Mickey Taylor, who's the editor at large of Essence Magazine, who's going to be coming to Paris as our keynote speaker for the conference. So just busy, 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 amazing things have been happening. I love the international travels because it allows me to leave my fingerprint on a global perspective, from a global perspective, and to get to take my husband and my children with me on these international travels.
I love that. So tell us how you manifested this, because you said when your husband married you, you were working full-time with benefits. How did you move? I don't want to make assumptions about you being in the driver's seat in your full-time corporate career as opposed to in your own business, but how did you move over to the entrepreneurial space, and how did you manifest these international experiences?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question. I actually love sharing my story of how I transitioned. So I didn't feel that I was in the driver's seat when I was in the corporate space. I grew up in an environment of poverty as a young girl. I grew up in an inner city housing project in Baltimore, Maryland. I saw the worst parts of life. I saw people who were addicted to drugs, people who sold drugs, girls who were pregnant at the age of 12 and 13. I mean, I saw people who had little resources and could barely put food on the table for their families, including my own mother, who struggled financially. We were well beneath the low poverty line. And to go from that environment, I felt like I was blessed just to get out of that environment alive, if I can be very honest. And then to go from that environment and go straight into the workforce. So by trade, I worked as a legal secretary. I did that for 15 years in corporate America. So I didn't have some big title. I didn't have a big fancy corner office. I wasn't a director or a manager or in the C-suite. I was a secretary by trade. And that was unfortunately going to be almost the cap of where I could go, because I didn't have a piece of paper that so many people rely on to say I'm good enough, which was a college degree. So that just wasn't in my journey. I went straight from high school into the corporate space. And so I felt stuck for a really, really long time. And then once I became a mother, I wanted to be in the driver's seat. I wanted control. And the three things I wanted more than anything was time freedom, financial freedom, and creative freedom. And unfortunately, I wasn't going to be able to get that in the space that I was at. So I made a decision that I'm going to drive. I'm going to drive this thing. And it took a lot of hard work, dedication, determination, taking big risks, doing things I had never done before. My very first speaking engagement was in September of 2010 for Morgan State University. It happened by chance. Like someone heard about me. You know how they say someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone wanted us to reach out to you. That's literally how it happened. And I went to that speaking engagement. It was September 18th. I'll never forget it. And that's when I knew that I was really born to be an orator. I was born to speak into the lives of other people. And that's when the journey really began. So at the top of 2011, I got to work. And anybody and everybody who would have me come and share my voice, I went. I used to pay for my own flight. I would pay my own hotel. I didn't care. All I wanted was the platform to be able to gain two things: experience and exposure. I felt if I can get experience being on stages in front of different audiences, and if I can get exposure to people who have never heard my voice before, but who can hear me and know that there's a gift there, I know for sure I can make this thing work. And as they say, the rest is history. I just have stuck with it and been consistent. And that's why you're talking today to Cheryl Wood, the international speaker.
Awesome. Awesome. And so inspiring. So what makes you stick to it? I heard you drop risk in there with the story. Oh. Tell me about risk and what makes you, stick to the risk when, maybe things aren't going the way you wanted it to go. What made you stick to it and stay in business?
That's another great question. For me, I think the biggest question is always, what am I going to go back to? I mean, once you discover your gifting and your lane of brilliance, and that's what you should be doing, that's like your spirit is calling out that's what you were born for. It's very hard to even contemplate going back to anything other than that. It's like gaining knowledge about something and then trying to pretend that you don't know. So for me, the biggest question is always, Cheryl, what are you really going to go back to? And then I look at my children, and I have 3 little ones who are looking up at me to decide what they're going to do, because our kids don't do what we say, they do what we do. So if I'm a woman who's sticking with it even when it's rough, who is persevering through the challenging times and the disappointments and the discouragements that come as a part of pursuing your dream, and knowing that it's not always going to be easy, if they can see me stick with it, then they're more likely to stick with the things that they want to do when they grow up. So I feel like I have a responsibility to my own household. And then I like to say it expands from my household into my zip code, because people are watching me locally in my own region. And then it expands global. So now I'm on a global platform and I have people watching me, whether it's through social media or people who have seen me speak at these international events. So now that level of responsibility has broadened even greater than my own household. And I always want to be the person who shows you that you can make it through regardless of the challenges, the setbacks, or the roadblocks.
Awesome. So how were you able to manifest these international experiences?
Wow. I think number one, just talking about it. And I think when you speak about it as though it has already happened, which requires visualization behind the scenes, Zig Ziglar has this amazing quote that you have to see the reaching in your own mind before you ever manifest that thing that you want. So having the visualization behind the scenes and then speaking about it, I believe will align you directly with people who can help you to manifest it. Not only will it put you on the path to taking the action steps that'll get you there, but also people will want to come on board and they will want to support you. So there have been people who have been in my corner, people who have seen me from Cheryl Wood, the legal secretary, who have been grinding and they see the consistency. And I think consistency also helps you to manifest. When you don't get the yes the first time, you come back and you try again. And when you don't get yes the second time, you come back again. Like all of those things proves to yourself and it proves to other people who are watching, oh, she wants this. She's not giving up. So I might as well just go ahead and help her or open a door or introduce her or connect her to someone. So I think it's twofold. It's about you being connected and committed, and then other people seeing you committed and consistent, and they will absolutely help to open doors for you. So speak about it. Don't keep it to yourself. You want to align with people who see the vision, value the vision, and want to help you achieve the vision.
Awesome. So what would you say the formula for owning your career is?
Man, that's a good question. Wow. I think I would have to say it's really keeping your pulse on what's happening in the marketplace and in your specific industry, especially as an entrepreneur. So for me, it's, do I always stay abreast of what my clients need now? Like today, not what they needed 6 months ago, because that could be completely different. Not what they needed a year ago, but what they need now, the pain that they're experiencing now. Am I always keeping my pulse on that? And secondly, am I always providing solutions for that pain that they're currently experiencing? So as long as I am staying abreast of what's happening with my customers or my prospects now and providing those solutions, people will pay you for the solution today. They want the answer today, the people who are ready, because it's such a pain. It's almost like when you have a headache. You know, you might have a headache and you might say, well, I don't want to take anything for it. But then you might have a migraine and you're like, look, give me whatever you got. I don't care if you got Motrin, Tylenol, Advil. It doesn't matter. So I always want to make sure that I have the solutions and strategies for the pain, that ultimate pain that my customers are experiencing today, and keeping myself relevant and making sure that I'm constantly reinventing myself and just staying abreast of what's happening in my industry now, especially in the speaker industry, because the speaker industry, it has shifted so much since I first started in 2011. And you can either stay stuck in what you already know how to do and have been doing, or you can move and shift as the industry shifts so that you can stay relevant. So I just keep my pulse on the marketplace, on my industry, on my customers, provide valuable solutions based on what they need now, and I'll always stay relevant and reinvent myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can you think of a time, Cheryl, in your career that you avoided responsibility, meaning take your hands off the wheel?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to say, I think the best way for me to answer that, responsibility, I have to say at some point I fell short of taking responsibility of growing my team and not having to be the woman who was doing everything. So I started this journey as a one-woman show, and for a long time stayed as a one-woman show, almost because I was like, if you're going to do it right, you got to do it yourself. I was of that mindset. Oh my God, that's so crazy. It's so crazy to believe that. It's not, that's so not true. There are other people who can do it well. They may not produce it the way you would produce it, but that doesn't mean that they cannot get it done and can't get it done in excellence. So for me, for a while, I really did drop the ball on growing my career and my business to the level that it could grow, because I wouldn't bring on other talented people who could absolutely take the vision and help me expand the vision and take some things off of my plate so that I could stay the talent versus I'm the talent, I'm the receptionist, I'm the CEO, I'm the treasurer, I'm everything in the business. That you can only last in that space for so long, and that's certainly not scalable. So for me, it was a wake-up call. I had to just say, I got to bring on some other talented people. Sometimes those talented people are smarter than you are and have greater ideas than you are. And you can't believe that takes anything from you. That actually makes you more brilliant, that you're willing to tap into other talented people who can help you to elevate.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. What advice would you give to someone wanting to successfully own their career?
My best piece of advice is to be authentically you. Always be authentically you. However you show up in excellence, always be that person. For me, I'm very outgoing. I'm a people person. I have really, really strong energy and excited energy, especially when I'm doing what I love. And I try to always remind myself it's okay to show up exactly as you are, no matter what space you're in. So whether I'm in a corporate space or an entrepreneurial space or a faith-based space, doesn't matter what the space is, I always have to remind myself to just be authentically me. And I think also part of that authenticity is being willing to acknowledge when people or things or opportunities are not aligned with who I am and with my vision, when they're out of alignment, and being okay saying no to certain opportunities or initiatives that are out of alignment with who I am authentically, that perhaps aren't in alignment with my morals, my values, my principles. I think all of that is sticking to authenticity. So just be authentically you without apologies.
So give us a tip or a strategy that's worked for you in being, as you build a muscle of being you with finesse, that you're able to flex it in different environments. If someone doesn't have the confidence to be themselves, and it can be rough out there, how do you go about doing that?
My mother always told me, Cheryl, go where you are celebrated, not tolerated.
Ooh.
And so I think one of the best ways to build that muscle is to be around the people who do celebrate you just as you are. If you're constantly going into spaces with people who don't celebrate you, they don't understand you, they don't get you, or they're just tolerating your gift, your light, then you're going to have a really difficult time believing that you are enough, believing that you are worthy. So for me, it's going to the spaces where they remind you of how amazing you are, how worthy you are, how enough you are just as you are, until you have the muscle enough to go into the rooms without someone reminding you of that. I started the same way. People ask me all the time now, Cheryl, have you always been this confident? No, I absolutely have not been. That's the answer. No way, no how. There were times when I first started, oh my God, I was like, me? The girl from the hood? The girl with no college degree? You're saying, what? You see greatness in me? I didn't even see it in myself. But the only way I got through to where I am today is because there were other people who saw more greatness in me than I saw in myself, when I first started. And those people would just keep reminding me, Cheryl, you're talented. Cheryl, you have a gift. Cheryl, you got to keep going. And the more I heard that and that was reinforced, the more I started to go introspectively and to be able to see it for myself, in myself. Mm-hmm. And then you build up that confidence, that belief that allows you to play in the world in a bigger space. So go into places where you're celebrated right now until you're able to celebrate you on your own.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love your energy, your authentically you energy.
Thank you.
So much. And I mean that authentically. I see it on social media. I read the Cheryl Empowers, and you're doing a great job. So wonderful. Mm-hmm. Tell us about, you just talked about people pouring into you. Can you talk about mentors and sponsors and their influence on who you are today and you know how you've been able to navigate your career?
So one of my greatest, I'm not even going to call her a mentor. I'm definitely going to call her a sponsor, because a sponsor is the person who goes into the room and speaks up for you and speaks on behalf of you and advocates for you. Is a woman named Peggy Morris. She runs an organization called Sisters for Sisters Network Incorporated here locally in the Maryland, D.C. area. And Peggy was one of those women. I remember when I first wrote my very first book, How I Flatlined and Woke Up in 45 Days. Oh my God, she was my biggest advocate. Like, she would have these groups, these monthly group meetings with business women, and there would be 150 women there. And she would say, Cheryl, we're going to take a page from your book, and that's going to be the whole focus of today's meeting. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And she would have copied the page, and then she would have me come in and speak. And I'd speak for 40 minutes or 45 minutes. Like, she was truly an advocate who supported me from day one. And then, of course, over the course of time, I believe in always investing in myself. So I've been able to train with some of the best of the best. I've trained with Lisa Nichols. I've done, I had a full day VIP strategy session with her where I got to sit in front of Lisa Nichols for 7 whole hours and just kind of pick her brain. And I've trained with, been to courses with Les Brown and just some amazing, amazing people who are great orators. And people in the speaker industry, so that I could continue to grow my level of knowledge. The more I invest in me, the greater value I add to my clients. And so I always want to make sure that I'm bringing them the best of the best. So that means I always have to continue investing in me. So that's ongoing for me.
Awesome. Education, professional development is so much, so important and such a lesson that it takes a while for people, some people, to get to, that they are worthy of investing in themselves.
Yes. And that didn't just happen. I had to learn too. I remember I was still working a job as a legal secretary at a law firm. And I remember I wanted to hire my very first coach. And she told me it was going to be $6,000 for 6 sessions with her. And I rolled my eyes and I sucked my teeth and I said, this woman is crazy. And I probably said some other choice words. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I had never, I'm a woman who grew up in poverty, right? I'd never invested that type of money in professional or personal development. And then the aha was, you know what? This woman already has what you want. She's already there. She's living the dream that you're aspiring to live. So why wouldn't you think that you're enough to invest that level of money into getting access to her and to her resources and the knowledge that she has? And with that, I remember I stopped eating out at Starbucks every day, because I used to do that every day. And I was in downtown DC, which was super expensive. And I stopped eating out lunch every day. And I started putting my money in a bank so that I could save up. That's how bad I wanted transformation, so that I could save up enough that I could hire that coach at that $6,000 investment. And I did it.
That's awesome. I love that story. I love about saving, because it's so easy to drop it on a credit card if you finally decide and trying to do a shortcut. But I love that you did the Starbucks strategy.
Yes.
Cut back. It's very expensive. So yeah, wonderful. I heard you say the book, How I Flatlined in 45 Days and Woke Up in 45 Days.
Yes.
That was my very first book. Behind that.
Because that's how I felt in life at the time that I kind of discovered this whole entrepreneurial journey. I felt like I had flatlined in life, like that I had lost my complete heartbeat in life, in a symbolic way. And I felt like I was just existing. I wasn't truly living. I wasn't walking in my gifting or my calling. I felt like a zombie who was just, going through the motions and through a routine. And I'm like, I don't want to exist. Like, I want to live, because life is so short. And ironically, that first year that I started my business, I lost my father. My father passed away at 59 years old. He passed of a massive heart attack in his sleep on Thanksgiving Day of 2009. So I had some things that really kind of tipped me in that direction of, Cheryl, do it now. Don't wait. Don't assume that you have until tomorrow to get started. You got to get started now. And I just went for it. So for me, the book was a direct connection to feeling like I had lost my heartbeat in life and wanting to revive that and to really get started living.
Wonderful. Well, Cheryl, I could probably talk to you for like an hour here. So much valuable wisdom that you're dropping for our listeners. So let me ask you, are there resources online or otherwise that you have found to be helpful in owning your career?
Wow, there's so many resources I could think of. I mean, I'm an avid person of reading books, or I'll listen to books on Audible. I think two of the very significant books for me have been, one, there's a guy named Simon Sinek, and he has the book Start With Why. I think that's a very powerful one. I actually saw him speak at an Infusionsoft conference, and that's when I first got my hands on that book. So it was very, very powerful. And then, of course, I kind of got to go a little old school. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like, that never gets old. That never, goes away. So those would be two of the most dynamic resources that I've had access to. And I think outside of that, people should be very intentional in seeking out online resources that support the direction of their career. So if there are groups, online groups, whether it's a community through LinkedIn or something through Facebook, that you're able to plug into that gives value, I would highly recommend that. I started a community called Impact Nation. And can I just say, oh my God, like the energy and I created it as an online platform where it's not just, people are just posting randomly. It's very structured. It's very intentional. We have specific days for specific things. Hey, on Tuesdays, we want you to tell us what you're doing, what you're up to. On Thursdays, it's our resource day. Like, everybody posts a resource free at no charge. We're not charging you. Free resources of what they use to grow their businesses. We engage in questions and answers in the group. It's a powerful, powerful group that I just launched at the end of the year, December 31st. And we're going strong, and it's a beautiful community to be a part of. So find that community that serves you well, that connects you with other open-minded people who have an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset, and they're scared to tell somebody else what they know because they're afraid somebody's going to take something from them. There are 7.5 billion people in the world. Believe me, there's enough for you and for me. I don't have the capacity to serve everybody. You don't have the capacity to serve everybody. So we might as well share resources and cross-promote each other so that we all can get a slice of the bigger pie.
Wonderfully said. You absolutely are bringing people along to the table with that comment clearly. Impact Nation, is that on Facebook or LinkedIn?
That's actually, we have a Facebook community. I think if you go to impactnation.com, you can actually learn more about it.
Okay. All right. With the website, can you tell our listeners how they can connect with you?
Yes. So I'm sorry, let me correct the website for the Impact Nation. It's Impact Nation Community. That just hit me. ImpactNationCommunity.com. If you want to connect with me directly, I'm on social media all across all the platforms at Cheryl Empowers. And my website, my direct website is CherylEmpowers.com. Pretty easy.
Awesome. Well, Cheryl, this has been so exciting for me and an honor to actually hear your wisdom in person. And so I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and just dropping some great nuggets and wisdom for everybody to learn from. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for opening up this platform for helping other people to grow.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It is my hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You can check out the show notes for this episode on the SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org website by clicking the podcast menu. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and tell a friend or two about it.